Hello, everyone, and welcome to a one-shot based on the campaign that I'm running with these players, which is called the Foundation. This is a one-shot entitled Run and Deliver. One of the things that hits the three of you first is the permeating smell of bacon, hot, delicious, sitting on your plate now as you're in this grand hall, a place where many soldiers and knights of East Shore can sit, gather, and have breakfast. You are now seated at a table, the three of you, enjoying a nice breakfast of eggs and some cooked vegetables with some bacon and a few rounds of toast with butter, kind of like in a nice spread. As you kind of meet the day, stretching and whatnot. Your charge, a royal messenger by the name of Lord Gaspar Bardolph, has not joined you. You have so far been seated alone, enjoying the hospitality of East Shore, although it seems to be a little cold in its reception. The individuals of East Shore, the soldiers and knights, freely speak to each other, but seem to be it seems to be quite difficult to get a lot of information or to be able to even speak to them, as they kind of keep to themselves. No more so evident than this morning when the three of you are having breakfast at a table alone. Right now you're enjoying breakfast, and I will leave any conversation to the three of you.
So I guess the conversation would pick up with Ostrid just talking, just not in particular to either one of her companions, but just in general. A piece of bacon held in her hand, and she says, "I don't know if you've noticed a rather cold reception. Did not expect it to be such. What do you all think of this?" And she would pop the piece of bacon in her mouth and she would just chew it, waiting for her friends to respond.
Alton looks up from the he has a little wood carving that he's kind of just twisting over in his hand, and you can tell from the way that he looks up, he might not have been fully listening as he says, "I don't know what you're talking about. The bacon wasn't cold at all."
Oswald would shake her head. She goes, "Alton, you'll never pay attention. It's amazing you're still alive." And she would laugh a bit, and she would lean in closer to him and say, "Did you not know? Did you not see how cold the reception was for you said it was Gustav?"
Gaspard, and he should
Gaspard.
hurry. He'll be late and miss the food, and we have no time to waste. We'll be on the road, and he'll be hungry, but I'll not hear it. And as for this cold reception, good. The less questions and prying eyes, the less complications. We have our business, they have theirs. They've given us their hospitality. They do not need to give us their intrigue or interest.
Alton smiles up, says, "Always making new friends everywhere you go, aren't you?" Here. He starts to...
Oh. Yeah, Othred would be licking the fat from her fingers. And always a cold one, you. You'd have more friends if you weren't so guarded, Amoth.
Who needs friends with enemies like these? And he points around. And before the kingdom was united and we defeated the elves, and these like counties and baronies were not so united, we were once enemies with these people. Does not seem to respect the Ashorans. They're kind of like a broad rural people as far as he sees it. Lesser than us Middenheimers. And so like their clawing or clamoring would only serve to annoy him as much as like babysitting this royal charge annoys him. So I guess in a way he's thankful for the small mercy of their cold reception.
And it is at this moment when you spot the individual who you have been guarding these past 3 days. And although you were technically supposed to be here for several hours longer, you see Lord Gaspar moving quickly towards you, sitting down without a plate. I do believe it is time that we take our leave. Let us quickly, quietly, without any sudden movements, slowly stand, and let us head to the stables where our horses are kept. I will explain more on the way. Now smile and laugh as I told a very funny joke.
Yes, I'll shove a bunch of bacon in my mouth.
Of course, my friends. But shall we go? I believe there is some. And you can tell he's quick. He's trying to think of something, some reason. A new merchant has appeared. I've heard that the dwarves have actually come down from the Ridgeback. So, if you would do me the honor of accompanying me to the marketplace, so I can have a look at their wares.
Of course, sir. Yes, of course. And Alton just starts to stand up. He grabs a couple more pieces of bacon, throws them into a little pouch on his side. Well, come on, gentlemen. Let's, ladies, let's get heading out. The man says it. Let's do it. He seems like a little nervous at this because he's not used to deception, and he kind of seems a bit confused by whatever's going on, but is playing along.
Okay. So give me 1 second here. So as you get up and you guys start making your way out to the hallway, it's eliciting a few looks from some of the East Shore guards. You see some of them, they have their swords, kind of like in behind, like kind of on a shoulder. They don't seem like the type of swords that you would normally find on infantry. They're not exactly long swords, but they're most certainly not short swords. They seem to be kind of somewhere in between, something that a mounted soldier can easily pull from kind of from the back, as opposed to on the hip, kind of as a quick motion, especially when riding. You can tell a lot of the East Shore soldiers, even their dismounted infantry, seem to be geared up towards, if they had to get on a horse, they could easily become cavalry. A lot of them like kind of turn and look, and even a few knights kind of hunched over in their full plate. They're speaking to each other kind of quietly, and even then, they kind of stop and kind of look up as the four of you are leaving, and then they go back to speaking. As you as you exit the main hall into kind of a side hallway, you get to kind of the large stables, and you can see now these huge, massive horses. These they're almost like percherons. These huge East Shore war horses. Ones that have been famed for being able to not only carry a fully mounted or a fully armed and armored knight, but do so with the speed, grace, and agility of an Arabian stallion. These horses are bred some of the finest horses in all the land, in all the world. The East Shore horses are they're prized by nobility and alike. And even being in Middenheim, that the king himself, King Barris, does ride East Shore, these huge East Shore war horses, and only his best knights have access to these animals. As you head towards it, you can see now the knights training, on horseback. One of them is kind of going across a few targets, and even in his armor, you can see that it seems so comfortable for this knight, kind of bending low and even raising himself up on the stirrups. You see a line of hay, kind of like straw men, kind of like in a single line. And as he rides up quick, you see even the sword sheathed. As soon as he goes by these straw men, the sword is already out, and the first head of the straw man is off, coming back down the second one, third one, fourth one, all in the space of just a couple of seconds. You see in another area in this large mounted training yard, you see a few knights with these special lances, ones that seem to be thin but very, very strong, almost made out of a specialized wood or a special dark wood. And a lot of them, like on the end, have these kind of like an outstretched claw that is just like kind of pointed out instead of a pointed part of a lance. And even so, it is just smashing through shields, smashing through armor, and other wooden targets. And then they're just flying through, and you hear like cheers of some of the other knights who are just watching these others train. Just a huge like group, like just all training and just to focus and getting better. Lord Gaspar kind of hurries you along and kind of like begins to walk at a very quickened pace up to the stable master. He looks at the three of you and kind of nods his head and go like kind of raises his hand to the stableman. Stableman pulls over these 4 Middenheim ponies, these horses. They're smaller. They're much smaller and a bit more frail looking, but they are kind of the standard horse of Middenheim. Those that are made for kind of more rough terrain. Lots of can go uphill and pull, but still not as powerful as these horses. Right. I think we should get going.
So you're going to have to tell us what we're looking for, because something's got you shook up and we can't guard you if we don't know who's coming.
What troubles you, Gaspard? Did you top East Shore's daughter?
Unfortunately, there's one thing that I do very well, and that is keep a low profile, be very quiet. I'm a good messenger because I also listen and not just speak. Unfortunately, it appears that mine ears have heard something I was not intended to, and I have it written down. And he's speaking like very quietly, even amidst the clashes. So, he's trying to speak to you all like just enough for you to hear. So, I wrote everything down. It's in this letter. It's sealed. If anything is to happen to me, if anything were to happen to me, you must deliver this letter to King Barris. It is imperative. There is something very foul here. Do you understand?
No. What is the foulness?
And he just kind of looks. He looks back and he looks back again. There's an alliance forming, and there is a plot afoot between East Shore and another place, another realm, the emirate of Azakir.
He'll spit twice. That's fucking heresy.
Keep your voice down. Yes, it is not good, but both East Shore and Azakir can help each other very, very well. The king must know about this. If not, then come. This is why we must hurry, please. And he mounts his horse and beckons for you to do as well.
Alton will follow suit if able.
Were we supposed to deliver this guy a previous message to a different place than the direction that we would currently be going to head now, given the change in need?
No, so the messenger had come to deliver tidings from
Ah,
Barris.
okay. So we're just
And
expected to head back to where we're from?
exactly.
And is where we're from where this guy now wants to go to deliver this message to Barris?
That's right.
Yeah, we want to return to
Okay.
Middenheim, right?
So nothing looks suspect.
Other than the fact that you guys are hastily leaving early, no, nothing seems to be out of the ordinary per se.
I'm just going to try and look casual. I don't think there's anything strange at all about people leaving early in the day. Like, it's common practice for travelers while the day is cool, right? So as long as we're not like looking weird or agitated, it's not out of ordinary for a gate warden, I would assume, to see people mount up and leave early in the morning just after breakfast.
Yeah.
So I'll just lean in close to Gaspard and say, whistle. And we'll walk like in a dawdly fashion, like stretching like someone who's been sleeping in a castle bed for a couple of days, who's not too excited to get on a horse for the next week, and make our way to mount up and trot out, not like gallop or canter.
I don't know, ride casual. So he gets off his horse and he kind of begins to like lead the horse by the bit and brindle to towards the kind of the main gate. And what it is, you see like these two huge fortified barbicans, like massive barbicans, over this like extremely like large heavy duty gate. The portcullis is obviously open, and there are several guards in like just kind of milling about in front, doing what guards do. A few of them have crossbows, and one of them is kind of a medium-sized individual, a knight in full plate. The plate armor is kind of dull. It's not shiny. Like it's definitely not parade plate, as it were. So it's kind of like you definitely tell it's for a purpose. You know, it's meant for fighting. He's bald head. He's got like kind of a very ragged scar going across his throat, kind of from his ear and then down like across the very front of his neck. He's standing there talking to a guard when he kind of like looks over at the four of you coming toward him, and he stops speaking, and he just stands there and just faces you all. And as you get closer, he kind of raises up his hand. The hour is early, Lord Gaspar. Why are you leaving? Do you not have an appointment with the Duke? And Lord Gaspar kind of coughs and I decided to do some shopping early before my meeting. I don't really think there's any problem with that. And he kind of looks at the three of you.
Make way for the king's messenger. And I'll like prod my horse forward such that it will run into this guy if he doesn't move out of the way.
And he stops, like he doesn't move, and he kind of looks. Yes, I see. Shopping. Well, I must warn you, Lord Gaspar. Eastport can be dangerous. Perhaps it would be best if you had an escort of East Shore soldiers to help you.
I'll pat my sword and say we should cut down straw men well enough in Middenheim, and then I'll point back to the rest of them in there. What did you say? Ceremonial plate or something? Chopping down straw men while people clap. And then I'll give him a sneering look. He's obviously just trying to like throw his weight around as a guardsman. He must feel like unglorified wearing that plate, but having to stand down on the ground and lumber around in it. And knowing this, I'm just going to like prod the horse again, ignorant of this obstacle. I urge Gaspard to fall in.
Yeah, Ostrid would speak up at this point. She would say, our Lord King has given us the charge of keeping Lord Gaspar safe. We appreciate your offer, but the three of us will be more than adequate.
We got him here safe enough.
And he's not even addressing the three of you. He's looking straight at Lord Gaspar. It would appear that your guard dogs do not know me. And you see Gaspar shrink a bit, and Sir Keeling, I forgive us. We've not been here. We've been here barely a day and a half, and I've not really mentioned. This is Sir Salem Keeling, captain of the forces of Eastport and advisor in general to the king, or excuse me, advisor in general to Duke Jessenthade. And standing there, because now, as you see now, the guards themselves, are starting to kind of come a bit closer. Their crossbows, like their armor, is essentially kind of boiled leather with kind of chain shirts underneath. It's made for movement and general protection. This individual wearing war plate is definitely seems to be a cut above. He carries with him a standard long sword as opposed to these shorter swords, these slightly shorter swords that the others carry. He also has with him, he's like wearing kind of like a cloak, kind of a kind of darker ermine sort of cloak. He looks up at you and say, "Well then, I would hate to keep you from your shopping." And he takes one step back and then one step over, and kind of like holds out his hand. "Please, I do hope that you come back."
I'm going to spur my horse loudly in the jingle of my armor, try and drown out the last of his words, and for the third and final time, make haste away from him.
Nice. And so you start going. So are you gonna like put your horse into like a just walk your horse, or just
grab Gaspard's horse bit at the mouth, leading him behind me, pulling him so that he doesn't stutter through another like reckless answer of shopping when he's meant to be adept in fucking courtly matters. I don't want him to speak anymore to guys like this who are obviously sharper than him. So I'll haul him away, trotting.
Okay. So you guys go, and so as you go now, I'm just going to bring up the map, or if you guys already have the map handy.
I do have the map, but I can't find East Shore.
Will it be
Might
east?
Get an older map.
It's all the way. It's all the way to the east, right along the coast, about even with the lake, I think.
If I run east of Lake Veda, straight out
so
to
if you go
It's right on the coast.
Yeah, so you go all the way to the most eastern point. It should be a small square that says Eastport.
Okay, yep.
In the world map. And
I was looking for sure. That'll be why. Okay, I know where we are.
So right now, I'm just showing you guys. This is the map of Eastport. This is the capital. Here is where you started, and you had just left the gate, or at least the gate to the keep. Obviously, you would know that there's a main gate, or there's a gate to the north, to the west, and 1 and 2 in the south here. Now, if you look at if you look at the world map, you'll know like these roads, where these roads lead to.
Mm-hmm.
So, down, if you go down like the southern gates, both will eventually lead you down to Tide Rift Bay, which is a town still in the duchy. If you head north, you would be able to head to a couple other like small towns and inns before making your way like further up north to Sawback. And if you decided to go all the way eventually to the Emirate of Azakir, and if you head west, it would eventually link up across through a series of paths to the city of Great Plains, which is another one in the duchy, but then that would be closer to the duchy of, or the barony of Vita, and you could either split off and go to down south, take the southern bridge to Kingsgift, or the northern bridge to Glenhaven and Forgemont, back the way you came.
So, would I know, like, most people leaving the city, what direction they might leave in? Like, what would be like the normal way if they were heading the direction that we say that we are going, or the place that we are going, actually?
West.
People go in all directions. Eastport is a large trading hub that is dwarfed only by Middenheim being the capital of an entire kingdom. Many ships come in from the Shattered Isles, far to the south, past the map, and many ships even from Middenheim. Some that carry large amounts of goods that it is imperative that they get there a little bit quicker than using the road system. And then from there, all those goods go like all across Althera, all across the kingdom, even. So, I mean, you can split it up into any which way conceivable.
Okay, cool. Trying to figure out if there was because basically right now he's a little paranoid that people, if someone does know that Gaspar overheard this, that they may be after them already. So it seems like something was up based on that captain. So he's kind of trying to figure out what the most obvious route is and what the least obvious route is, and trying to split the difference so that anybody who's like, oh well, let's follow the way that they should have gone, wouldn't get them, and anyone that's like, oh, I bet they thought of that and they went to the least obvious route, also wouldn't get us. But it seems like there's too many routes for that.
You have many options available to you. Now, in this map in particular, you do know that here, this large square is the main market square. It's where basically a lot of goods come in from all over, from the north, from the dwarves and the Emirate, from Middenheim, from Forgemont, from all the different towns and cities. A lot of like vendors and other such end up here. The Council of the Just Scale also has a group here. The Merchants Guild also has like kind of a small setup here for individuals who want to who sample wares and get goods and whatnot. You do have a smaller kind of like this is more for like the tourists or the higher class people. The lower class of commoners usually use kind of this area, which is right by the temple of Cord. There's like a kind of a smaller market here. People buy all sorts of goods, food and trinkets and small things like that.
So Ostrid would put special care as she rides by this. And I wonder if you, Mike, if you could just throw his name into the chat just so I can write it down. As she rides by this rather imposing, it sounds like a commander for Duke Jensen Thade. So she would, but she wouldn't look at him. She would just kind of look straight ahead. But she would kind of just make sure that her mount goes slow. So everything that Amoth does, she does kind of just a little bit the opposite. You know, not quite as openly disrespectful as her companion was.
And Alton might even goes another little step further, and he does actually smile down at the guy and say, "You have a nice day, sir," and just nods as he continues riding past him.
And he just stares at you like kind of like the cat who got the canary. You know, like not like a smiling, but it's a very hollow smile. And then as you kind of ride past, he turns and he starts walking away from the gate. So as you guys travel down, now you have the main road, which leads to kind of just in the middle between the two market squares, or I guess market polyhedrals, because they've got all kinds of weird shapes. You have a different gate. Like, do you guys have an idea of what gate you would like to leave from?
Ostrid would, once we're free of the keep, would kind of just gently ride up alongside Lord Gaspar, and she would suggest that they at least head to the marketplace and spend some time there, and then make their way to. What are you thinking, Alton? Are you thinking like maybe the southern gate, or maybe even the northern gate?
Yeah, I was thinking getting out of the city sooner rather than later.
Right.
If these guys are going to be following us, if we think that there's someone coming after us, I feel like they're going to try to get us in the city, or they might have an easier time of it.
Right. So let me take a little quick peek at the map again. I think so. We would want to go to whatever gate would be closest to, in line with the marketplace. Right.
Why not just go to the port? It's the busiest port on this coast. We just get a ship. He's a loyal Lord Messenger.
I think that is an option. Or we could take the north gate, which is like a straight shot up from the marketplace.
The road north, though, just leads us to mountains between us and Middenheim. And the road south takes us further away than where we need to go. So really the west road that cuts around the Lonely Wastes and up to Middenheim, or east by ship, is our only real viable option, unless we want to go north and then travel across mountains. That might do Salem's job for it, though, if we do that.
The road north where does that lead? Does it lead up into where the Emirate?
Yeah, so the road north leads essentially to, you'll hit the Ridgebacks River, which is a huge river. Think of like the Mississippi. It's not something you can just like go across by bridge or even like just kind of ford through it. There's actually a ferry that goes across, or a small ferry that goes across the river. From there, you would hit the next like small town you would hit would be Sawbacks, which is basically a huge, well, not a huge, but a fair-sized logging town. A place where Eastport gets a lot of its wood from is this town that basically just borders this massive, like almost unending forest, it seems. Or you can take the West Road. The West Road will take you eventually, like it'll take you it'll cut down and then cut through across the wastes to Great Plains, and that that might be your best bet. You could also take the North Gate and then just cut across and just kind of huff it through the plains, not on the road, to get there as well.
Yeah. I wonder if our prospect might be better if we stay on land rather than trying to secure a ship. If they had
What makes you
suspicion,
think that's safer? That's safer.
well, if they had suspicions about Lord Gaspar, if all of a sudden they hear through any spies that they have that we're trying to secure a boat, that'll
Yeah.
definitely
They'll have
give us-
spies at the gatehouse too, right? Like as soon as like we cross out whichever north, south, northwest, south, whatever,
yeah.
guard B was going to run back. Oh my lord, I saw them running out of the. Like it's the same either way, right?
Right.
It's just if we want to be chased by military ship or mounted knights, and we already know that these guys supply mid and high cavalry, right? So I want to take my bet with the ships.
Yeah. What do you
But
think?
then again, Lord Gaspar, the shopper, is our commanding officer.
Yeah.
What's his
Why
straticon for
how come he
this?
didn't say he's going out for a morning ride? Why do you have to say shopping?
Rather stutter through that in front of like the Lord General's plate-mailed guard.
Yeah. Lord Gaspard, as you guys are riding or going through the city, forgive me, Sir Keeling is dangerous, and I'm afraid that I am not as brave as the lot of you. To be honest, this news is shocking and terrifying. If Ishor and Azakir band together, especially through marriage ties, they're speaking of that. This could be disastrous. I mean, Azakir and Ishor could control the entire eastern coast, and basically we would be sitting on a war that would consume the entire continent. More frightening so if the king doesn't hear about it. So you'll forgive me. I am not a quick-thinking warrior. I'm a messenger. I deliver things, and I sit and I listen, and I'm an informer. I'm not really a spy or a great and powerful diplomat.
You're fooling yourself, Gaspard, if you do not think that you're the king's spy. What else is a messenger but the eyes and ears of his lord?
I suppose that's true. Never really thought of it that way.
Spying exactly what you're doing now? You overheard something you didn't. Now you're running away from that person to tell the other just about it.
I guess you're right. Yes, I suppose you're right. Whether I like it or not, I'm a spy. And right now, this spy needs to get back to the safety of the kingdom. I fear that Ishor is not long for loyalty to the rest of us, so I feel that the sooner that we leave, the better. You had mentioned taking a ship.
Perhaps now it does not sit so well with me as when the idea blossomed. Storm. There are many things that could stop us along the way. Pirates, and none of us are seamen or women. Our fate would be in the hands of the gods. But if we take our smaller, swifter mounts overland, there's no way these lumbering warm bloods packed with 6 foot of dullard's flesh covered in plate mail could ever catch us.
Don't be so certain.
Then we split up. And
Split
each of us
up.
bear a message. And even if they catch 3, the message gets through to the king, to whom we all owe absolute loyalty and would die for.
We do what we must. All right, well, if we take it overland, which I feel would be a very good idea, if we left with the western gate, that might be our fastest route to back to Vita, at least. We'll be in friendly lands.
Friendly. Vita's a hedge of elven barbarians and broad-faced colonialists. I wouldn't call them friends. Bloody
Well,
times down there. Though friendlier than Keeling, I'll admit.
That is something, to say the least. But yes, at least we won't be in East Shore. We could take the southern route. But the southern route would take us to Tide Rift Bay. And although I know that East Shore has a bit of a revulsion to magic due to its history, perhaps we could still beat there before any messengers of theirs get to Tide Rift Bay to stop us.
Why would we even go to Tide Rift Bay? We've got a bigger port right here, if it's ships we want. The south only takes us further away from the king.
Oh, very true. Very true.
And north is useless because it puts mountains between us and the kingdom. Horses don't go over mountains. And Alton's afraid of heights, so we should go west.
Oh, all right then. Then let us go west. Now, and so he begins to kind of turn his horse down kind of a medium-sized road and take it that way. Let us hie quickly then. And he kind of breaks his horse into a bit of a trot, not a full-on gallop, but just like he's got to get somewhere. Let's get there.
Any chance I get, I'll shout out, "Make way for the king's messenger!"
That's good. I don't know why that got me, but that had to get me. And
the right amount of pomp and gruffness, that's why it got you.
Like just the right amount. So as as you guys are moving along and you're shouting, make way for the king's messenger. Some people actually do kind of, whoa, geez, and kind of move out of the way. Other people are a bit slower to move out of the way. They just
get trampled.
Well, that might not be the best idea, but needless to say, they slowly move out of the way. It's still a bit slow going, but at the same time, generally individuals on horseback will kind of outclass anyone who's on the ground, especially seeing how a lot of peasantry that live in the city don't generally, everyone doesn't just go around with horses. So a lot of people do kind of make a wedge for you, and you see the gates. And as you get there, you see the western gate, a very heavily fortified gate, has these two, like on either side, has actually like two sets on either side of towers kind of like together into what looks to be like almost like a figure 8 pattern, right? Just two big towers lumped together. On the tops of one of the towers, you see, or on two of the towers, the further edge, you see two looks to be like heavy mangonels, which I'm assuming all of you know what a mangonel is. And beside those two, on the other towers, the ones closest to the gates, you see what looks to be kind of two ballistae, but like a kind of a strange type of ballistae, what almost seems to be a kind of a large box, but with several, what looks to be like several barbs sticking out of it. It basically looks to be as if, hey, you need like 60 archers that, that fire off 6-foot long massive arrows. Well, this thing fires off all of them at once, kind of a thing. And these things are both perched up on the tops of the towers there. You see the huge gate, a kind of a large steel portcullis, which you could just see the kind of spikes of the portcullis down. The gates are open, and you do see a few guards kind of mulling about, people coming in and out, and they're checking wagons and everything else. So as you come to the gate, what are you guys thinking about right now?
Osfred would say to Lord Gaspar, because she knows that he's not have the cool of a military man. He would, or she would say, "Remember, keep your cool. Remember, you're the king's messenger."
And he nods his head, kind of, like looking down at the the top of the horse's head. Looks down and yes, thank you. I will.
Just going for a morning ride with your guardsmen. Nothing out of the ordinary.
You're absolutely correct. Yes, you're
Maybe
right.
we'll take a rabbit while we're out there. Never know.
Never liked rabbit, to be honest. Always found it to be, I don't know. But you're right.
Stringy.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's a little stringy. And this short conversation is leading you guys further up the gate. What about Amoth? What are you thinking?
He's actually looking past the guards at the gates, looking for signs of movement and like the arrow slits and upon the walls to see if anyone's actively watching us. Not in the sense like that you would just be vigilant and like trying to like look at the face of every person that you're like supposed to sentinel over. But I mean someone who's actually like watching us at the expense of not seeing other people. That's who I'm looking for.
All right. Make me a perception check.
Okie dokie. $14.
From the large group of people coming in and out, it doesn't appear that you see anyone in particular kind of like giving you guys the and looking specifically for you. Seems just another run-of-the-mill gate in a run-of-the-mill large city where people come in and out and things get checked, and individuals you see guards are just kind of walking along the over top of the gatehouse, and a few of them are manning the towers, but very nonchalantly. No one appears to be staring at you or watching you or anything to that effect.
Then I'll probably spur the horse a little further, like a quickened trot now, and bawl out for a final time, hopefully within the confines of this place. Make way for the king's messenger! And try and like bawl through any peasants who are like milling about with straw on their back, slowing us down. Because that would be common, I imagine. Like I want to act as normal as possible.
Okay. So as you kind of muscle your way through and kind of like pushing people aside and yelling and make way, you do. Individuals are like parting for the four of you, and people are moving out of the way and whatnot. You do see coming down kind of like a small side street. You see 8 or 9 knights on horseback, many of them carrying sword and shield, and not like the swords aren't in their hands; they're tucked away. You see a few individuals who are wearing the kind of light armor. Some of them are carrying kind of short bows, and the short bows are kind of like placed right on the horn of the saddle, kind of in a resting position as they're moving along. The two knights in lead stop and kind of point directly at you, and then they look at each other, and they, you can see they're having a conversation. And one of them kind of kicks their horse a bit and begins to move a little bit quicker toward the guards at the front gate.
So we'll just keep pushing through. I'll act like I haven't seen that. I'm going to reach down my chain gauntlet and hold Gasper the shopper's horse and just pull him with me through the trough of people. Like when you see someone's pointing at you, like they want your attention, you ignore them anyway and keep going. That's exactly what I'm going to do to those knights and get out of the portcullis so we can't be trapped in. Unless someone tries to stop me. Unless it's an obvious noble or knight who tries to stop me, I'll draw my sword and cut down at the person's hand if they do so as a ready to action.
All right. So you're sore. You're tense. You're ready. These this one knight, begins to kind of quickly move even into a canter to get to not a full gallop, but they're definitely moving quick to the guardsman there. That individual points kind of in your direction, and the guard looks up kind of quizzically at first and then nods his head, and he begins to kind of move in between you guys and the portcullis, and you see now the knight going back to the group, and the other knights are kind of beginning to kind of spread out. See something here? Nope. The peasants or the other common folk that are just kind of walking around, they're just milling about. People aren't really paying attention. Everyone's kind of focused on their own thing. Basically like any foot traffic in a mall during Christmas, kind of that sort of sort of thing where people are just like, look, man, I'm just doing my own thing. Just as long as you walk in a perfectly normal fashion, just leave me alone. I'm trying to go. So it is still quite busy, as many folks are coming in, many folks are coming out. So the guard is standing there, holding aloft a halberd, and he's kind of putting his hand up as you guys are approaching to stop you. Gaspar quickly looks at the three of you, wondering what do we do?
You all keep riding, and I'll ride now, changing my tack towards this guard, and I'll stop before him and dismount. And what I'm trying to do is put myself, my horse, and that guard between my companions who want to escape and these bunch of knights spreading out.
Okay. So as you approach the guard, nodding to the others, Gaspar, Lord Gaspar, starts to move a little bit quicker to get out. And the guardsman,
what is it, soldier? Why are you stopping us? We're by the king's messenger and are guests of your lord. And I'll walk up to him now, trying to put my bulk in front of his face to even diminish his chances of stopping my companions getting through.
I'm begging your pardons. It's not me. I've been told to hold you all. At least
under what reason?
I don't know.
Then how can you be told to hold us under a reason that you do not know? Stand aside.
Make me an intimidation check.
I just did. I role-played an intimidation check, but I'll see what the number on my dice says. 9.
Okay. You know, and you could tell this guard is a type of individual that has like seen and heard it all before. You know, he's long in the tooth. He's an older fella. Um, he just says, "Look, I don't want no trouble, right? I'm just here to tell you that I need you to stop here until Sir Keeling comes down, and he's supposed to be coming down in just a few down that street." And he points to where the knights had come from.
The Keeling we just spoke to, like we just passed Keeling at a gate earlier.
You did?
I'm saying this meta to you.
Gotcha. yeah, that Keeling. That's Sir Keeling.
So after we left him, he got word to these guys to detain us at the outer gates rather than detain us at the inner gates. Would that be what I assume?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Why would he do it here and not in there? It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to, like, while I'm dismounted now with my horse in one hand and my other, like, free, while I'm, like, bawling at this guard, I'll just yell for Gaspard and the rest to flee. And I'll cut down this guard and I'll make my last stand in the portcullis.
All right. I
didn't see that coming.
Nope. I'm not going to lie to you. I did not see that one coming. I did not see that one coming.
Poor guard. I feel sorry for him, but he'll be the first to die.
I know, and he was only 1 week away from retirement.
They all are.
They all are.
Shit.
I know. It's all right. His grandkids will be taken care of. Anyway. Sure. You know what? Tell you what. Make an attack roll.
18 on the die, so plus fighter equals hit.
Oh my goodness, yes. Give me a damage. Give me that juicy damage.
It's gonna be 6 plus 3 is 9 slashing damage.
So as you cut down, like you just come straight across, and he doesn't even see it coming. As a matter of fact, because he doesn't see it coming, add me a d6 of surprise damage.
I don't know if that's very fair to any of the rogues in the party.
Is there any rogue here?
Nope.
Exactly. So I wouldn't even worry about that.
Okay. An extra 3 damage then.
Okay. And it just, and all of a sudden you like his face just goes into a red ruin as you just bring your sword straight down. Immediately there's a scream as people begin to like rush through just away from you. The knights begin to charge at you, and screaming, murderer, and they're just coming towards you,
Nice.
really, really fast. Now, meanwhile, for the rest of you, what are you guys doing? You guys booking it?
Yes, Ostler would immediately yell, "Quickly, ride!" And she would reach with her left hand and just slap the flank of Lord Gaspar's horse to spur it into movement. And she would then spur her own, and she would like give the what is it? Give up the reins to her horse to let it just kind of just launch through the skate.
Okay. So you just launch into a gallop, full bore. Lord Gaspard didn't. I don't think anyone saw that coming. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, Nico. No one saw that one coming. I didn't even see it coming, and just kicks.
Floyd was watching. He knew that was coming.
Did he?
Yeah.
So just in a massive gallop, just like all three of you just go. Now for you, what about your horse? You just gonna slap his flank, get him moving?
Horse?
Yeah.
No, I'm holding it. I got my horse rein looped around my arm, right? I want to create an obstacle. I want them to have to get through me before they get through everyone else. Now, what I wanted to do, Mark, is slash that guy's throat with my sword, and I'm just going to drop that straight away and pull my halberd out of my pack on my horse. That's how I'm going to show down against these guys. I want, ideally, I'm eventually going to kill my horse, right? I'm going to kill my horse to create difficult terrain in the portcullis way to give Gaspard the Fool and my honored companions time to escape.
Gotcha. Okay. He's really like the guard that you hit is hurt, like he's really hurt. He's pretty much down on one knee. He doesn't like he barely had time to get his sword out, and his sword's kind of on the ground, and he's breathing and he's bleeding heavily. And as you bring your sword down pretty easily, he's got no chance to do much of anything. And just that's pretty much the end of him. And I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not even gonna bother bogging down gameplay with a fight there, because there's no fight. So as soon as he drops, one of the knights, one that is carrying a sword, he comes charging at you with his horse. And what we're going to do is we're just going to get into a really quick initiative, see how fast it is for him to get
Kill
it.
me.
Well, I don't know about kill you, but definitely how fast it is for you to react to this guy. And
12 is my initiative check.
I fuck you not. I just rolled a nat 20. So
nice.
he comes charging at you.
I have the tunnel fighter fighting style from the UA for my chosen fighting style. So when he's 5 feet from me, like not adjacent to me, charging down with his sword, which he needs to be adjacent to hit me, I'm going to swing my halberd into the nose of his horse.
Oh, that's mean. Okay.
That is mean.
That is mean. That is mean. SPCA gonna shit all over you.
13 to hit.
All right. Even though the horse would have armor. I got to double check with horse armor.
It's the same as human armor, so it'll be like 12 as a base, and if it has leather armor, it'll be 13. If it has studded barding, it will be 14, etc. Like so on.
Okay. So it would have probably studded barding. Just as just as like as a horse, because I mean it's a knight, right? So it's not going to just be just on its own. And as you kind of bring it down, just as the horse just almost seems to like buck its head up as you bring it down, just missing the horse's flank. He comes at you with his sword, like kind of straight across, and that is going to be a 24 to hit, which
that misses.
Guessing. Yeah,
that hits, of course.
Let's see what we got here. So one of these or one of these.
Hey, Mike, for the expense of the other guys, right? Like I'm not going to win against 4 knights, and there's probably more than that, right? So you could just describe my fate, because I don't want to like take away from the game rolling out the inevitable, right? We're doing a mathematical equation for what we already know the answer of, and I don't want to like take an hour of these guys' time for myself to be slaughtered. So I've told you what I want to do, and you can make of that what you will, and maybe I take one down before I die. Maybe not.
Actually, seeing as how this situation where you have a bunch of you have horse archers, you have mounted melee knights. You tell me what happens, and we're gonna roll right with it. You tell me what happens.
So I miss the horse's mouth, and then I get another attack as he comes into my range, and I hack him off the horse. And as I spin to go and finish him off, I just get clattered into by another knight as they press around me, and I swing them halberd around with abandon. The circle widening, then closing with the dynamic of the fight as it plays out. And then one of the guards pulls his wounded friend away, the guy 1 week from retirement. Once he's sure his companion's safe, he just hefts his crossbow and shoots me in the thigh, and that brings me down. And then one of the knights walks up and grabs me and drags me off, and they begin to clear away the dead horses and corpses. And by the time they do, my companions are a speck, punctuated by some dust and their horses' tails to the wind.
Awesome. I've never had a player die that quickly. Just gonna throw that one out there right now. And through your own injuries, and even as like your fate, what's going to eventually happen to you. You could even see through like bloody vision, and you can't help but smile, just crack kind of a half grin that these Eastport bastards are going to have to work extra hard to catch up with the rest of them.
And then the smile gets shattered by Keeling's morning star, and all goes black.
It all goes black and red and brainy. And Keeling looks to the others and points in the direction of the dust trail and screams, "Get them now!" And the knights mount up and begin at a full gallop to try and catch you guys. And as such, let's see what we got. And as such, luckily for right now, you guys are now safe. Both Ostrid. You really had to get that. You couldn't just be Jane. Couldn't just be Sally. No, it had to be Ostrid.
I love that name. I think it's beautiful. Did you make it up, Lionel, or did you find it somewhere?
I found it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It just spoke to me once I saw it. I was like, boom, there it is.
I'm thinking Alton just calls her Ozzy.
Nice.
I was thinking Aussie, but that's all right.
You tried it like 1,000 times. Like, Aussie, whatever.
There's only one Aussie in here. Come on now. Oz. Yeah. And then so Ostrid and Alton, you guys are now safe, both on either side of Gaspard, riding what seems to be now for your lives. Now, you guys have been going down the road now for let's say about 15, 20 minutes. I mean, Amoth was able to give you that much time, which is incredibly good, considering that he was one man facing off against several several mounted individuals, especially wearing heavy plate. Now, as you guys are going down this road, eventually that this road will lead to the Great Plains, or to the city, Great Plains. Are you going to stay on this road, or do you feel that it would be best to move through the actual Lonely Wastes?
I don't think we should be on the road for long, guys. I think they're gonna catch up with us, so they're gonna be in front of us at some point.
Yeah, Ostrid would agree. That at a point, probably the most level point, they'll probably cut off the road and try cutting across the plain. Now, what would we know about the plains themselves? I know on the map it says something. They're the wastes, right? Yeah,
the Lonely Wastes. It's a place that's like it's a lot of rolling plains, grass. There's like dotted ponds here and there, a few hills here and there. You do know that a lot of like creatures, you'll see like large herds of, like caribou, or elk, like even, some like kind of plains deer, a few predators. You do know that in some cases, there have been known to be like large, more magical creatures. Especially those with flight or those that move extremely fast will be on the plains, generally in the like kind of large abundance of animals, of meat. But for the most part, like there's also a lot of speculation, superstition. So people like ghosts are out there. The ghosts of the like battalion of knights that were slaughtered by Middenheim's forces when the like kind of large battle between Ishor and Middenheim, or Ishor and the Kingdom of Bara took place, and it was before the slang term "rizzard" by Ishor. It's where it got founded, so that's pretty much what you've learned. Like there's superstition, there's speculation, but for the most part, from what people actually know is that generally people stick to roads because it's safer, because people don't know what's out there. But there are people who are tough that will traverse the plains, as it'll be quicker than trying to go around the road system and whatnot.
Yeah, so Astrid would think it's a calculated risk. So she would look at Alton and say, and ask him, should we try our luck cutting across the plain?
I think now that they've seen us flee to the west, that may not be the safest route. If we were just leaving the West Gate for a morning ride, then the west was the best way to go. But now that they've seen us, this is the way they'll follow us. I think cutting south might be our best option now. Take respite where we can, send off a few birds with messages to the king, try to get the message to him as soon as possible.
Yeah, she would nod in agreement. It might buy us some time.
If there's a place where it looks like we might be able to throw off our scent, and if any streams or anything to the south, that's where we should cut off the road.
Okay.
Try to move south as quickly as we can. Gaspar, when we get a chance, I want you to make as many copies of that note as you can.
I don't have any quill or ink.
We'll figure it out when we get to whatever village we're able to stay at.
Well, you wish to go south. I mean, there are southern towns and cities in Ishor, but do you wish to do that, or are we going to camp?
No, I think we're going to make our way as quickly as we can to Deepwater Port. They won't suspect us to be heading that way. They will think that we will head towards Middenheim.
Agreed.
We will rest when we can, but
with that obvious of an exit, they'll be sending armies after us. We need to be far away from where those armies are looking. We'll ride through the night. It's going to be a long couple of days.
Yeah. Being a soldier, Astrid would know that. So she would look at Lord Gaspar and say, to steel yourself, it will not be easy, but if you want to live through this, you'll have to find whatever fortitude you can.
So you're gonna ride. Now you're gonna push your horses. Like, are you gonna like ride at a fairly like hard gallop?
I mean, we've been riding at a hard gallop for these last 15, 20 minutes, and so I'm gonna say once we pull off, we probably should for another like 20 or 25 minutes once we start moving south. But after that, we don't want to kill them. So
right,
we kind of slow down after
we're
that
definitely
a little
gonna
bit.
have to slow down, walk the horses for a while before we ride again hard. Okay.
So you like riding hard, eventually kind of slow it down a bit. First from a full on gallop to kind of a canter to a bit of a trot, and just kind of like still moving at a faster pace than you would be walking, but nonetheless still fairly quickly. And it's at this point, though, what I would like is both of you to make a perception check. Okay. You both see, like, far in the distance, you can just see the beginnings of a dust trail kind of coming in your direction. A little bit, it's not like, it's not a huge thing, but you definitely see, like, some small group is coming toward you, and it doesn't take much for you guys to kind of put two and two together that, all right, they're sending people after us now.
Off the road.
Yep.
Everyone now. South. Just point and start like riding the horses despite whatever terrain is there.
Okay. The terrain again is mostly flat. Like, it's mostly like just kind of rolling hills, somewhat like steppes, kind of a steppe region, or even just any sort of like Great Plains, sort of a flat ground with a few, hills here and there. As you guys make your way south and kind of push your horses to increase the distance in between, I am going to say that I'm going to need you guys to make an animal handling check as you guys are pushing your horses.
Is that wisdom?
Gosh, you know what? I want to say it is, but
It is. Yeah.
oh yeah, that's why druids are so damn good at it. Okay, both of you are able to keep your mount under control without much of a bother. Gaspar kind of struggles a bit, but the horse is still able to kind of get the to keep his horse under control as you guys make a full gallop down into the kind of plains area of it. As you guys go for about an hour or so, the distance in between, you can't even see where these troops are right now. Your horses are now, like, you can see the corners of their mouths by the bit are just beginning to froth. Your horses are definitely sweating. They're getting very tired. Do you wish to kind of slow down your horses now, or do you want to carry on getting even more distance?
So Ostrid has an idea. It's been something she's been thinking as they've been riding hard. She knows it's just a matter of time before these horses will collapse underneath them, and these men will catch up to them. So one of the things she's been doing is looking, and because it's plain, doesn't afford much in the way of like cover or anything like that. But what she's thinking, Mike, is excuse me, having Lord Gaspar actually break away from us, and that we will be the diversion that will keep drawing these guys further south, thinking that we're all still traveling together, and maybe have him go out into the field, lay his horse down and lay down, and they would be just kind of following off after us. That would improve his chances, because he doesn't need the letter if he makes it back to Mindenheim. One of us is the only ones that needs to have the letter. So that's the idea. She would just kind of, she wouldn't necessarily say it to the Lord. She would say it to Alton as they're kind of riding along, kind of leaning over the necks of their horses. She would throw it to him first to see what he thinks on the matter, before she would, when they slow down for a bit, before she brings it to the Lord.
I hate to say it, but I think you're right. I don't know if he should hide, or if he should just keep moving slowly to the west.
Yeah, the only reason why she would think to hide is that they would just give his horse a chance to rest, and then once they were to ride by, then he could get up and go. But yeah, we could play it out either way. It's really up to Lord Guspar. Yes.
We'll
But
let
yeah,
him,
she would present the plan to him then.
we'll let him decide what to do after the army passes. But you should travel in disguise, Lord. Don't give away your true identity.
Yeah, if you have any markings upon you that would make you the king's man, you should get rid of them.
And if either of us survive, we'll try to meet you in Midnight.
I hope so. Yes, I think I do. And you could tell he's looking over, and he has like a pin that denotes that he works for the royalty, and he takes that off and kind of puts it into his pocket. He has like a large kind of rough spun cloak. Kind of seems like it would just be for anyone. Kind of pulls that out of his pack while you're riding. And kind of puts that on and just kind of like covers his head. And at what point do you guys want to break off?
Actually, I would also like to ask Gaspar, can you give us the note? That way, if they retrieve it off of either of us, they may think that they've stopped the messenger and don't need to send as many in pursuit.
Yes. Right. And he kind of reaches into his doublet, kind of like breast pocket in his doublet, and hands you the note. And you see the seal is intact. The seal of like, the Lord seal of Gaspar is on it, and he hands it to you. And, please go. I beg you. Let one of us at least get there.
Yeah. Ostred would give him a stern, or not a stern, a firm nod. We will do what we can. We will buy you as much time. Because she does not suspect that her and Alton's fate is going to end well. But so the minute, Mike, they see a spot where maybe it's not quite as flat plain, maybe there's a little bit of sway to the landscape, that's when she would like point out a mark to him and say, quickly bring your horse there, lay it down. If you lay across its neck, it'll stay down. And wait for us to pass. And maybe she would say, count to 100 after the horses pass before you move. Just because she doesn't want anyone that should happen to be looking around to see him get up.
Right. He does what you say. You guys kind of stop for a second, and your horses are just kind of like breathing heavily, and are just kind of standing there. He gets off his horse and kind of like lays the horse down and covers himself up. Good luck. May Avandra be with you.
It was an honor to work with you, sir. Lord. Whatever.
No, I'd say at this moment, we're equals. I owe you my life. Both of you, all three of you. I hope that we can honor Amath when we get back. Good luck.
We'll see you to the west, sir.
Yes.
And Ostred would say, we'll see you in Middenheim. She knows she's lying, but she says it anyways.
You don't know. Y'all don't even know. So as he lays down and covers up, and you guys begin to take off, in what direction are you taking off to? You're going to take off towards Deepwater Point, Are you going to take off towards the southern bridge over Baori's Vein, towards like King's Gift, and then eventually,
Yeah.
Middenheim that way?
We
Or
would head for the bridge, I think. Right, Alton?
Yeah, that sounds right. Kind of just keep, yeah.
I mean, I don't know why you'd want to go to King's Gift. Never even heard of that place, and it's probably a shithole. Probably.
Well, that's the thing. He kind of does want to go to someplace out of the way, but he wants.
True.
But now that's kind of changed because now it seems like a confrontation is inevitable.
Right.
So as you guys begin to head off, the sun is now starting to dip below the horizon and starting to get into kind of the evening. The lights fading, and you guys are both like tired. And although breakfast was good, that was like your only meal, and you're starting to get a little hungry and thirsty. You didn't really, you don't really have like a huge, massive amount of rations. I mean, you grabbed, what you could grab and kind of bounced right out of there. Are you guys going to set up camp? Are you guys going to keep on keeping on? Like, will you ride through the night? Basically, is kind of the main.
I don't. I think we need to rest. I mean, we have to be practical.
Yeah, the horses need to be alive enough to keep riding us. So
yeah,
they have to ride as far as we rode. So I'm sure that
And they're heavier. I mean, Ostrich is not a big woman. These are heavily armored knights, and so the horses are having to carry them. So yeah, we would probably get off, maybe walk them for a little while, because we wouldn't want to just stop them after all the running we've done. So we'd walk them for a while. And in that walking, maybe with the two of us would be looking for a place where we could have a cold camp, just rest a bit, brush the horses down, maybe look for a small stream or something. That's I guess would be the main thing that we'd look for, is something that we could get a stream, because the horses could eat the grass, but we got to get them water.
For sure. And as you guys, as you guys are going, kind of scanning around, tell you what, I'll get one of you guys to make me a survival check.
How's your survival?
Not
Austin.
Great. Not a thing I'm good at.
Me either. Tell you what, you take this roll, and I'll take the next roll. That we're not good.
Okay.
Well, both of you can. I mean,
okay. Well, actually, I'll help you, and that'll give you advantage.
There you go.
Okay, let's try that. Still a 10. The other one was lower.
Oh man. All right. So looking around, you kind of find a place. You see one it's kind of an area that's near a pond. You don't know how good the water is, because it's just a stagnant pool for the most part. It's just a pool that's been sitting there, like either not moving or anything. So you don't really know how good the water is per se. It might be good for horses, but you don't know if it's good for you. You also find a few bushes near there that do have some berries. It's not a lot of food, but it's something. Kind of something very basic to get you guys like at least fed. After kind of brushing down the horses, removing bit and brindle, and just allowing them to kind of graze around a little bit, you guys are able to kind of take a good rest. And it is there where we are going to take our break.
Awesome.
So I thank you all for joining up. If you're if you're watching later, then thanks for watching. I'm gonna let these guys, if they want to kind of advertise their channel, which I know Lionel's channel is pretty rad, 'cause I'm a subscriber. So should you. Feel free to have a look, and we'll be back in about, I don't know, however long it takes me to get some more coffee, maybe have a smoke, maybe go to the bathroom. You know what? I'm oversharing. Anyway, we'll see you guys in just a little while. All right. So for those of you who are still tuning in, thanks for tuning in. I'll just go ahead and make a small quick plug that if you really enjoy tabletop RPGs and you're looking for a kind of a cool group to join, I would suggest joining up with the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group. They're a really awesome group, good group of people, really friendly, nice to chat with, and yeah, definitely one to look at. I believe just got to look under groups and into Absolute Tabletop, and yeah, definitely have a look at it. It's not just Dungeons and Dragons; it's all kinds. I met this awesome group through Absolute Tabletop, and yeah, if you're looking to run a game or playing a game, I would highly suggest checking it out. So that's my mini plug. So since everyone I assume is back, you guys are all back, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Not dead yet? Okay.
No.
Good. Not dead yet. Yet is the opportune word there. So as you guys settle in for the evening, and I guess, well, sleep, will you guys be setting up a watch or just kind of hell with it? We're tired. We need a break.
Yeah, I think we would just take turns. We're both soldiers, so we're used to working on little sleep and sleeping light. So yeah, I imagine we would just take turns off and on. There's only the two of us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right now we're just kind of napping more than anything. Just getting a little bit of shut eye before we get going, because we're not gonna wait that long.
Dreaming of feather beds.
This rest is more for the horses, as far as I'm concerned.
What's that?
This rest is more for the horses, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. So if your horses have removed that point of exhaustion. So now like any animal handling checks would be back down from a DC of 15 down to a DC of 10. So as you kind of get up and it's still dark, like, light, the sun hasn't risen just yet. You guys break whatever camp you have and begin to kind of get everything together. The berries you ate, though not a good meal, it was a meal. So you're able to kind of put a little bit of food in your belly. Are you guys going to take anything with you? Do you guys want to take any of the berries with you, or just carry on?
I think we would take some berries with us. And I know you took some bacon, didn't you, Alton, when we left?
Yeah, that's right. I did. I stuffed a bunch of bacon in my pocket, or in my pocket.
I was gonna say that she was gonna grab 2 pieces of bread, throw a bunch of eggs and bacon in it, and stuff it in her pouch, but I didn't. My bad.
Yeah.
As soon as Ostrid reminds him of that, he just like lights up and pulls out the bacon and splits it in 2 and tosses her some. I completely forgot about that. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, and those +5 Vorpal swords you've been carrying, I mean, no. So you put some berries into kind of like just into a bag, hoping that they don't get squished or nothing like that. You guys mount up and begin moving. I guess it would be just straight west towards the. That's weird. It looks like I kind of froze a bit there. It looks like I froze in kind of a shocking kind of way.
Yeah, you're frozen to us too.
Yeah, that's just kind of odd. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, so you guys are making basically a cut straight west towards the bridge, the south bridge. As you guys are moving, is there anything that you guys want to do in particular?
I don't know what about Alton, but one of the things that Ostrid would be doing would be looking for any indication of like a farm and kind of like farmstead or something like that. She's not one to steal or do anything like that, but desperate times call for desperate measures. So that's something that she would be like kind of looking out for.
Sure. Looking around, like just getting a quick scan, and I mean, the lonely wastes are the kind of the kind of area where you could watch your dog run away from you for like 3 days. It's quite flat, so there's no like very, very difficult terrain. So basically, like scanning around, I mean, you don't really see anything at the moment. However, you do see like far off into the distance, like quite far off into the distance. You do see kind of the beginnings of like, you see kind of a small town that's like quite far off, and then south a little bit. So kind of like southwest ever so slightly. You do see like a few like little tiny dots of like homes and farmsteads and whatnot, and that would be like it would be a little ways out from the bridge. Like if you went there, then you'd still have to cut back north along the road to get to the bridge. You also see like further off, kind of near the bridge. Well, you don't kind of like near to where kind of like the land kind of begins to slope slightly downward. You do kind of figure out that would be where the river is, and eventually where the bridge is. Far off, you do see what looks to be like kind of an abandoned, or at least a ramshackle, small little like homestead, just kind of off in the middle of nowhere, like kind of just doing its own, just kind of sitting there all by itself. Is there anything else? Like, is there any other, like for you, Alton? Is there anything that you would want to do or look for at least?
He would take a little bit of a glance back, see if there is any sort of indication that anyone is following them or has been, is coming from the direction that they are coming from.
All right. Now for that, we'll ask you to make me a perception check.
12.
Okay. Looking out into the distance, at least where Eastport was, you don't really see anything. You can't really you don't really know where any of this group of soldiers that's following you. You can't really see them. So there's no dust trails. There's no group. You don't hear anything, obviously. You also don't see anything.
So is it right for me to assume, Mike, that this is like early morning on the next day?
Yeah, I mean the dawn is like just beginning, so the sky is turned
to orange.
Yeah, so it's starting to, like, you start to see a kind of a like a low magenta sky as the sun is just struggling to peak up, start like kind of pop up over the eastern ridgeback. So it kind of gives the sky this kind of like reddish hue, and the clouds, like, as there are many clouds, and you see them like they're just moving quickly in a westerly direction. It's a like the weather itself. It looks like it might end up being a cloudy day, but you're not really sure. I mean, you're not a druid.
Yeah, so I think we would set a brisk pace, but not an all-out run like we had before. We just want to, like with purpose, I guess. And yeah, I imagine we're like we would be constantly looking over our shoulders. as we're kind of riding along, you know.
Okay. So as you move, as you begin moving, now again, correct me if I'm wrong. So you guys are going to be moving west to the bridge, just straight to the bridge.
Yeah, I would say with your full description, Mike, and I'm going to let you know, obviously Austin can chime in too. Rather than heading towards that town, which I was my first reaction, if we know that we're going to get to the river soon, we could get to the river and then we could follow the river south to the bridge, and then we'll have water. We'll have water. If need be, we might be able to catch a fish if we had to. You know, can we guess at like about how long it would take us to get to the bridge?
If you moved into,
I'm more than willing to do a survival check or something because
sure,
definitely not a ranger.
yeah, actually, you know what? That's actually a really good idea. Let's go with a survival check,
Okay.
just to gauge the distance and what it is. Go for it.
Yep. So you tell me what I would know with a 7.
You know, I mean, it seems really far away, but you think maybe 2 hours of, you know, like good riding, you might be able to make it pretty close to the bridge itself. Like if you went in a straight line, rode probably at the speed that you're riding, maybe 2 hours ish.
Yeah. So that's what I would tell Alton. We should make the bridge within 2 hours.
That sounds good. I have to confess, I'm starting to worry. Were we a distraction for Gaspar, or was he a distraction for us? Because I don't see anything following us.
Don't
know if
trouble
we let
your
them-
thoughts with that. We have to stay focused on the mission. We have to get to the bridge,
Fine.
cross over into the King's Lands, where
Very well.
where we will be safe.
That's a relative term, friend. All right, let's go. And he'll kind of spur his horse on into a little bit quicker trot.
Okay. As you traverse the Great Plains, I do need you guys to, at the first leg, at least make an animal handling check, just as a kind of precautionary.
I'm not sure wasting a nat 20 on an animal handling check is a good thing, but I will take my nat 20.
Yeah, I got a 7.
Okay. So, Ostrid, you ride with precision to a point where, you know, you're able to move around any like small like gopher holes or other quick divots that would otherwise injure or even, you know, like be a death sentence to a horse. Unfortunately, you are not so lucky, Osley. And oops, there it is. Alton, sorry. Alton, you are not so lucky. As you are riding at a fairly good clip pace, your horse stumbles, and I need you to make another animal handling check to see if you even stay on the horse.
How about a 5?
And the horse stumbles, and you fly off, taking 6 points of bludgeoning damage as you hit the ground pretty hard. The horse bucks and whinnies and begins to run off. What are you going to do about that, Ostrid?
Ostrid is riding just ahead of Alton. You know, her eyes are constantly scanning the plains for exactly that, gopher holes and other sorts of hidden threats. And that's when she hears the crashing of armor, and she looks back and she sees the dust come up from where Alton has hit the ground and rolls, and he sees his horse sprint off. Does it look like the horse? She's gonna try. Does it look like is he getting up? Is Alton?
Yeah, no, Alton is is kind of like, you know, he's kind of pushing himself to his feet and kind of brushing off his battered legs and kind of looking after the horse and starting to try to like hobble after it as best as he can. He's a little beat up in the moment and he's a little dazed, but he's kind of like he's much slower than the horse, but he's like in this kind of half-assed attempt to run after it because he's sort of had the wind knocked out of him.
She would, seeing that he's kind of like shaking it off. I mean, she's been thrown from a horse or two in her day too. She's going to try to intercept the horse and try to get the reins so that she could bring it back.
Okay, and that will be an animal handling check for you.
I'm glad I took that as one of my trained skills. That's a 17.
Nice. You're able to ride your own horse beside this one, and just make me either an athletics or acrobatics check to see if you can grab the reins of the horse as the horse is like just kind of like bounding along in a straight line.
So even though she's kind of riding up alongside this, she keeps reaching for these reins, and they just keep flapping around as this horse has just been spooked, and probably is appreciating the fact that it no longer has the heavy rider on its back, and she's just not able to grab it because I'm not thinking that I'm going to be able to grab it with a 10.
Yeah, actually, that was you just made it. So I mean, you know,
okay.
you
So
reach
she's
for
done it, scrambles around, and then she finally gets it. And then she
Nice.
just kind of slows both horses down. And then I'll just bring them back at a slow. I don't know. I'm not familiar with horse terms. Which is the one where it just goes slow? Like a canter? Is that a slow?
like a trot, I think, is more
A trot.
yeah. Like it just,
So I'll head back towards Alton at a trot.
okay. And as you head back towards Alton, I need you to make me a perception check.
There we go. Now I can do 18. Finally doing
Nice.
something right.
Even though the sky is starting to overcast a bit, there's no mistaking a large, what looks to be an extremely large bird flying just above you guys, kind of circling. You know, you hear this kind of a like a. It's really tough to pick the noise out because it's not a noise that seems very familiar to you, at least not something that is, you know, kind of common. You know, it's kind of this screech, but like a screech mixed with a kind of a roar or some sort of like grumble. But you do see a large shape, and it's kind of beginning to circle just above you and kind of spiral down as it's getting lower and lower, and it's starting to turn like tighter and tighter. So as you make your way, Ostrid, Alton kind of looks up, and you know you kind of look up as well to see, and sure enough, as you do, this large creature just like screeching, this kind of like this screeching kind of sound. This creature just its front talons, its front like eagle-like talons kind of hits the ground, and its wings kind of snap back and fold, but in the ready position. You know, its large leonine-like back hindquarters kind of digs into the ground, and it looks at the two of you, and of course, more importantly, at your two horses, and it kind of snaps its beak in your direction. And you know, you see now, especially from a lot of the heraldry that you've seen with nobles and other such houses, is that you are staring down a griffin.
I was afraid that's what you were describing. So it's kind of landed, and it's looks hungry, I'm assuming.
I mean, it's a griffin. It looks like a griffin. It's apparently sounds like a griffin, and it's definitely staring down at both you and the horses, and kind of crouched in that like kind of pouncing sort of way that cats or other such predatory animals do.
Yeah. She would quickly look to Alton to see what he's doing. And
Yeah, Alton is drawing his sword just as a reflex and readying his shield, which was fortunately still on him when he tumbled to the ground.
Yeah. She is going to she's kind of leading this other horse. She is going to let this other horse loose. And kind of push it away, hoping that this griffin will take an easier meal than one it has to fight for. And after she does that, she's going to hanging from the side of her saddle is a light crossbow. She's just going to grab that and get ready to prime it and put a bolt on it if she needs to. But that's what she's going to do. Sorry, Alton.
All good with that. No, you're fine. That's exactly what I would have done if I was nearer to the horse.
So as you let the horse go, and you give it a slap on the flank, the horse kind of bucks a little and begins to just bolt, but it turns around to like get away from the griffin, and it kind of moves away. The griffin, like looking at you and looking at like the three of you now, or at least the two of you and the horse that you're on, kind of snaps, like its head kind of snaps and looks, and it kind of like hunches down really quick and then shoots up, its powerful back legs leaping like a cat, and its wings kind of spread out, and it begins to follow the horse. And it starts to take off in that direction. The horse galloping and bucking fast as it begins to like run as fast as it can from the griffin. The griffin's powerful wings kind of like shoot up like with speed as it kind of goes up and then kind of stops with its own momentum and then comes straight down like a predatory bird, landing its two talons on top of the horse as the horse gets pushed to the ground. You can almost imagine its legs kind of like buckling underneath it, and even breaking. Screaming, the griffin just tears into this horse and begins to feed on it, and looks around and kind of looks at back at you, even though it's it's at least about 800 or 900 feet away from you at this point, as how fast the horse was running, because it's a panicked animal. And it kind of goes back down into feeding. So for the moment,
yeah, Ostrich doesn't even see. Ostrich, thanks for the description. It was beautiful. Ostrich doesn't even pay attention to that. The minute that thing bolts off after that horse, she's already moved. She's already dropped the crossbow down back on the saddle, and she's moving towards Alton. And she puts her hand down and helps him up behind her. And so the only thing that griffin sees when it turns its head to look at us is the ass end of her horse as we're moving away. Now, not as fast as we were. And I guess when we put a little bit more distance, she would look over her shoulder and say, we will not be able to ride as quickly now. And we'll have to take turns as we walk the horse. But yeah, so we have effectively been slowed pretty significantly now. How big are you, Alton?
He's not a huge guy. He's probably about 5'8" or 9.
I'm glad it wasn't Nico's guy, because I'm sure Nico's guy was probably like this huge dude, imposing dude, because Ostrich is fairly small, like 120 pounds. So good.
Yeah, I can only imagine Nico's character was like 6'9", you know,
Yeah, he's like the
225, all
mountain.
muscle. Basically he's the mountain, you know. His halberd is actually a dagger. Like that's just how big the dude was. So
No,
So
I was
as
just
you-
wiry strong.
yeah. I'm not strong, I'm wiry.
So yeah, we probably wouldn't be going full out. We would just ride at not a full on gallop, but maybe a half gallop towards the river. And once we get to the river, that's when Ostred would suggest that maybe they dismount and just walk along with the horse, heading for the bridge. So it's going to take us longer. So she estimated 2-ish hours. So I imagine it's going to take us longer now.
So the Griffin, you know, back like now far away in your sights, is now almost a speck as you guys keep riding. But of course, as you're slowed, the horse is beginning to tire. You know, it can't keep up the you know, that much weight on it for the whole time. So it's you know, it's, even though you're trying to spur it on as quick as possible, the horse is just like, no, you can kiss my soon to be glue ass. Like, no. So it, you know, it begins to wind down into a kind of into a slow trot, and eventually begins to just walk.
Yeah, we would just probably just before it gets into that point where it can't even keep a trot, you know, she would look down and she would see that slather of sweat just coating its coat, and she would dismount at that point, as I'm assuming Alton would as well. Now does Alton look, now that we're done? Does he look okay? He survived the tumble and roll.
Yeah, he has a he has like a kind of like little broken bent piece of metal on his shoulder, a piece of his armor, and his face has a pretty nasty like purple welt just all down the side. But he's kind of shaking it off a little bit. He's walking with a normal gait again. He's kind of stretching his shoulder out and kind of trying to like pop it back into place.
Yeah, so we'll spend the better part of an hour or maybe a little bit longer, Mike, just walking the horse.
And Alton starts to kind of reevaluate like what he had on him when he actually went down. And he like kind of pats his side. He's like, all right, so I put my actual pack on the horse, so that's gone. Don't have the javelins or the pike. Still got my potion and my gold, so that's something. And my sword and my shield. Well, we'll be a little bit lighter in the travel.
Where were the berries?
Those were in the same pouch that I put the berries that I had in the pouch that that the bacon was in. So like I reach into that and it's kind of just this half berry mush with like a little bit of bacon grease in it.
Pemmican. So you guys carry on, and you do get off and you just walk the horse, and hey, let's hear it for that horse. That horse is kind of pulling you guys out of that fire. So the bridge is now within sight. However, you do see along that road, you do see a group of what looks to be plated armored troops coming down the road, and the armored knights are kind of going. They're just coming along, and you can see. You can kind of like just look off in the distance, and you can see them kind of beginning to, like, at first they're just kind of going at an easy canter, but then you see them starting to like ride a little bit harder. It seems that the two of you the two groups of you are kind of equidistant apart. Like maybe you guys are a little bit closer. So now would be a good time. We're going to have ourselves a little race. So they begin to gallop. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into an initiative order between you guys and the knights themselves. So if I can get you guys to roll initiative.
Man, I am wasting all my nat 20s on things. Well, maybe this is good though.
Well,
so I got a
yeah, I got a
22.
3. I got a 3.
Dude, you're killing me, man. So I got a 22 and he got a 3. We're at both ends
Actually,
of the spectrum.
It's a 2 because my dex is -1.
All right. So what we'll do is you're going to go first. You guys are going to go first. Mostly you, Ostrid. You're the first. You got the top there. And then it'll be basically it'll be Ostrid, Alton, and then the knights. Not even kidding. So your horse, you two now. Are you two are on the horse?
We
Right
are now.
Yeah, we're both gonna hop
No,
on.
and I kind of figured you guys would have been on the horse. So I'm assuming like, you guys break into a
We are going
full-on gallop.
This is it, man. Full on gallop. Yeah.
The horse is trying its damnedest. Now, normally, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, and you guys might help me out here. I'm just going to quickly check out the monster manual. But I believe a horse has a running speed of 80.
No, 50. Oh, 60. 60.
60? Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys, like burdened as the horse is, it's still able to at least go about 40 feet. Yeah. So the horse, it can't gallop full bore, but it can, it can like still move about 3/4 of its speed. So if you guys get 40 feet closer to it, the knights are breaking into a full gallop. They're able to, with like trying to spur on their horses, they're able to get another 50 feet. So they're about 10 feet closer. You see one of the knights actually come to a halt or stops some of the lighter armored individuals on horseback, and kind of backs into a line where there's just a line of these guys. They unsling their bows from the horns of their saddles, and look what looks to be like a quiver mounted on the saddle. They grab arrows and begin to they nock them. They kind of hold it out, these small like short compound bows, as this one troop tells them to fire, and they nope. You see like arrows just sailing up, but just hitting the ground maybe 20 feet away from you guys, as you guys are just making your way to the bridge quickly, as quickly as humanly possible. So that brings it back up to you guys.
Yep.
We're just going to go back, just carry on with the full.
Yeah. Probably the only thing that Ostrid would kind of yell. She's still kind of leaning down over the neck of her horse. But she would yell to Alton to use his shield as best he can to provide cover to the horse.
That's exactly what I was actually just about to say. That he's just he's got his sword and shield out. He's holding on with his sword hand as best as possible, and using the shield to kind of block both the horse and Aussie.
Right, Aussie, I love it. Yeah, so yeah, she's just her sole mission right now, Mike, is just keeping that horse pointed towards that bridge, and she's just going to rely on the skill of her companion Alton to keep them safe.
Sounds good. All right, you guys, book it now. I'll tell you what. Make me, if you, is what I'm going to do. If you want to try to, squeeze out a little bit more speed out of your horse, make me an animal handling check. If you fail you can if you want, or you can just like do the 40 feet as much as possible. If you want to squeeze a little bit more though, if you fail this animal handling check, things could go wrong really fast. So in other words, are you feeling lucky, Punk?
About how far are we from the bridge right now?
You're probably about 300, a little under 300 feet.
Right. So at least for this at this point in time, she's probably not going to do that. She's going. It's like when you're running the marathon. You don't sprint out that last bit until you're there. There's still too much distance. She doesn't want to gas the horse right now. So we'll probably just go for the safe 40 right now. And then as we get closer, definitely we'll gas it out then.
Okay. Now with the other group, they another thing of arrows gets launched towards you. Oh boy. All right, so just double check on the AC there. Yep. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Never mind. If the case of, they just make it actually a couple of arrows actually sink into the shield that you're using to kind of protect both of you. Because what I did was, since I assume both of you have an AC of 18 when you have your shield. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep. All right. So what I'm going to say is that because you're using a shield to try and block both of you, you each have an AC of 17, and with the bonus, I rolled a 16. So they just makes it. A few miss, a few hit. The main rider, which now that you're getting closer, you can see that it is Sir Keeling. Riding fast on horseback. He goes another 60 feet. So he looks like he is beating you to the bridge. So we're going to go bring it back to you guys. You've made it 80 feet now, but you can see that Keeling is definitely beating you to it. And now the other troops, the other soldiers now are kind of getting their bows and putting them back onto their horns in order to ride ahead.
Ostred, seeing that they're going to get cut off, I guess now she would just kind of literally try to get as much oomph from her horse as she can. So I think we'll take that risk of gassing her out.
Well, actually, as Alton sees her doing this, he's going to kind of pull the note from his pouch, slip it, reach around her and kind of slip it into her, whatever kind of shirt thing she's wearing. And he just kind of tumbles off the horse.
No! Oh, shit. So the result of my animal handling roll, because I've already committed to this, is a 16. But she's going to yell.
That is enough.
Is it? But she's going to yell no when she feels. She doesn't really register that what he's doing until she feels like, you know how when someone's behind you and all of a sudden you can feel that they're not there anymore. And once it registers what he's done, and she just looks and she goes, no. And she thinks that she's going to pull on the reins. And then she's like, no, she's committed. She's going to keep going.
So now that this happens, now you move another 80 feet all of a sudden, because now the horse has so much more. It's like if a truck is driving full bore with an extremely heavy load, and all of a sudden, someone cuts off the link to that heavy load, all of a sudden that vehicle's just going to go shooting forward. Like, where did I get all this speed, right? So now instead of 60 feet, you're moving it. You moved another 80 feet, and now you are beating. Now you are beating him, Sir Keeling, the bridge. And what we're going to do now is we're just gonna split off the initiative order. So it's still going to be Ostrid, you are first. Then it's going to be you, Alton, and then the soldiers. So now that you've taken your turn, Ostrid, Alton, you just tumble to the ground. Unfortunately, gonna have to take a little bit of fall damage because you're falling off a galloping horse, which kind of hurts.
Oh, for sure.
Yep. And you take another 5 points of bludgeoning damage. You kind of hit the ground and kind of tumble a bit.
Suppose that would be a good time for a second wind.
I would agree that would be a great time for a second wind.
Okay, oh, sweet. I actually rolled a 10.
Nice. Oh, well,
That's going to get me back to full health.
that is very, very helpful.
That's very, very helpful, yes. Okay, so he's going to try to kind of tuck and roll, get to his feet as quickly as possible, collect his sword, which he may have kind of dropped in the tumble. Still got his shield strapped to his arm, and he's going to sort of ready himself for whatever is about to come.
All right. So you hold, you got your shield and your sword, and you're kind of like holding it, getting ready to go. And you see that while the horse archers are kind of beginning to move off, the other mounted knight that was with Sir Keeling, he lowers a lance and he begins to charge in your direction. He is about 80 feet away. Even though he's charging, he gets very close to you, not quite enough to reach you in his turn, but he gets very close to you. But you can definitely see him coming from a mile off. And then we're back up to Ostrid. Ostrid, what are you doing?
Same thing she was doing last round. She doesn't want to look back. She doesn't want to know what might be Alton's fate. She's probably up to 2. She's probably closer to Alton. Amarath was always so kind of crass and whatnot. But yeah, so she's just going to keep riding towards that bridge.
Okay. Are you going to be pushing your horse?
She has to.
Okay.
If Alton is going to meet his maker, 15.
Okay, that's just enough. So another 80 feet. The bridge is now well within sight. You can see it just 60 feet away. It's so close that you can just barely touch it. The other knight kind of sees you getting really, really close to that bridge. But we're going to go now to you, Alton. You see this knight. This knight is bearing down at you any moment. He'll be charging right through you with a lance.
Yeah, Alton is watching this, lifts his shield, and I'm just going to dodge for this action.
Okay. So the other knight. So first off, Sir Keeling is going to be doing rushing his way down, and he's actually going to spur his knight on, or his mount on, I should say. And he also does. So you guys are both Ostrid and Sir Keeling are neck and neck, getting to this bridge. It's like any moment you guys are just going to collide into each other. You're both about 60 feet away. However, the horse archers are now going to turn and fire at you. Ooh, okay. So that's one. Okay. So you get hit. unfortunately. You get hit.
I'd be disappointed if I didn't get hit at least.
Yeah,
a
I
few
know,
times.
right? Yeah, that's definitely true. You get hit 12 damage as 2 arrows find their mark into your side. So you get hit pretty bad. The knight will charge and make an attack. I believe it's at it should be a disadvantage. You can do the dodge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's right.
If they're attacking Alton, then it's disadvantage.
Oh man. So I see that's okay. So I'm sure glad it was at disadvantage. That was great because I rolled a nat 20 and I rolled a 13. So, but the 13 plus the 5 is 18.
Still enough to hit.
So let's see. So it's got to be D12. And I believe it's an extra D6 when it comes to charging. And you take 14 points of piercing damage as the lance collides, and although it collides into the shield, it shatters, like it just splinters off. But you feel it. I mean, it's like trying to hold a shield off and getting hit by a car. It's just you feel it just reverberate up your arm, up into your shoulder. Just the pain is intense as you get knocked to the ground. You are now prone.
Yeah, he feels his left shoulder kind of not just dislocate, but shatter part of the bone in the back as it jams his whole arm almost a foot in the wrong direction.
Ooh. Ow. It does sound painful. And you move on, and again we move back the action to Ostrid. Ostrid, you are 60 feet away.
Yeah. So this is how I see it, Mike. So she's kind of leaning over this saddle, and she feels these two like punches really hard, and one up in like her mid back, and one a little bit lower towards her hip, and it doesn't hurt. It just feels like this dull thud into her armor. But then she starts to feel that wet slick, and so she knows that blood is running down and soaking into the padding underneath. Her breathing is a little bit more ragged now as one of the, I imagine the upper one kind of grazes near her lung. So when she takes a deep breath, she can feel it pressing against the tip of this arrow. So the first thing she's doing is she's going to second wind to get back some of those hit points. so I did that. And yeah, she is going to push the shit out of this horse. Now, am I riding neck and neck now with Sir Keelan?
Well, you're not literally like neck and neck. It's kind of like a kind of T where you guys are both headed to the same.
Oh, it's kind of like
exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, she's going to push it again to try to cut him off, and she has like an alternate. She has a backup plan in case that doesn't work out. So,
all right. Well, for your bonus action, roll for your second win.
Okay. Yeah, I did that. I pre-rolled that while.
Okay.
Because I knew I was going to have to do that after taking 12 points of damage.
Yeah.
So my animal handling, nat 20.
Oh my god.
I built this character to be like a cavalry horse person, and she's playing it out that way. So yeah, that's 22. That's a 24.
Oh my god, that is clutch.
Yes, thank you.
So you not only make it, Sir Keeling is like here, and you just zip past him. It is like, and all he sees is dust as you.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where she's going at a speed, and he calculates the speed perfect. He's like, I'm going to literally like ram my larger, faster horse into her little pony and take her down. But then at the last second, there's like that burst of speed, and so it's almost like it's miscalculated. And yeah, oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, and as you zip past over top the bridge, the Sir Keeling just kind of misses the mark, but he he had done it in such a way to try and like spur the horse into yours, and just missing, he has to make an animal handling check, and he rolls a 4. So he kind of kicks off, tries to stop, and the horse overcompensates and starts bucking him, and actually bucks him off, and he falls to the ground, and he takes about 4 points of damage as he hits the ground with his like on his full armor. If he had rolled a 1, though, the horse would have fallen on top of him, and that would have been just great. But that wasn't the case. So you make it across, and as you make it across, we go now to Alton.
Okay, so this guy that has just bowled into me with this lance, is he kind of followed through, so he's probably a bit past me now?
Yeah, he's a bit past you, but I mean you can tell he's circling around.
Okay, yeah. So that was also kind of my thought, Lionel. So Alton looks towards the river. About how far away is that?
The river is probably about a good. Let's see. You jumped off there, so the river is still a good 60 feet away from you.
Okay. So, seeing that his splintered shield is useless, he's gonna start to tear that off as he's going to, lift himself to his feet and start moving as fast as he can towards the river. And as he does that, he's gonna start trying to, like, with his good arm, start to just try to rip at all the buckles, and like, I imagine he'd have like a small like knife still attached to his belt and start just cutting off the things of his chainmail. Just not worrying about taking it off nicely, just trying to get it off of him as fast as he can as he moves. And I will use my action surge to dash there as fast, like twice.
Well, you can do a double move, which would be 60 feet.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, I was trying to do it, and trying to do the cutting. I was thinking the cutting might take an action, but
yeah, the cutting would take an action, but I don't believe, since you're not a rogue, that you can take the action surge. I believe is for like one more attack, as opposed
there's
to
one additional action on top of your regular action in the possible.
Oh, okay. Oh, then you know what? Let's fucking do that. We'll do that.
I was gonna say that. I'll say the cutting is the action surge, and then the sprinting or the dashing is just the regular movement. Yeah, so it's gonna just move towards the river.
Okay.
Ripping the chainmail off.
Yeah, you're just trying to get it off you. You're running as fast as you can.
Left arm kind of flapping lazily behind him.
flip. As you're like bolting it as fast as you can, you're giving her that. The horseman, the knight that attacked you, is coming around, and he's going to come around and kind of take a swipe at you. Now, for the purposes of this, I will say that since you're probably partially out of your armor as you're running, because I doubt that you'd like just quickly cut away your armor and just be out of it in a cinch. I will say, for the purposes of this, that instead of an armor class of 16 wearing chainmail, you probably have an armor class of 14. Given that you're still, you still have some armor on, but it's flopping all over the place.
Yeah, down to mostly just like the breastplate part, or like they're not breastplate, but the vest.
So he comes around, and much as you saw in the stables, he has his sword ready, moving at a very clip pace, and he's basically just gonna draw it and swipe in one action. And that was a natural 16 on the die.
Oh boy, this
Oh
is
boy.
go.
All
His
right.
bonus alone could kill me.
Oh shit. Very much so, because he roll. I rolled an 8 on the D8. So
Ooh, ooh. What's his yeah, well, it doesn't really matter. Well, it might matter. But yeah, that's gonna definitely reduce me to less than 0.
yeah, it's his bonus is a +4.
-6 then, but not quite negative, not quite half negative, so not outright.
So he comes in, takes a swipe. You narrate to me what happens.
So Alton hardly sees it coming as he kind of glances back at him just for a moment as he slices at one of these leather straps, and as he does, he kind of realizes that this horse is right on him, and the sword cuts across his back, and he just falls forward as this river of blood starts to pour out, and actually the chain itself kind of like falls a bit, like it was already beat up and a little dinged, and the weak points all kind of gave, and a good portion of his chain shirt falls in the back as he collapses face first in the mud a few feet from the river.
And as you settle in, the soft grass kind of it seems comforting that the grass almost feeling like that feather bed you've been thinking about.
His head is tilted a bit to the side towards the bridge, and as his eyes start to kind of slowly close, he sees Aussie beat the knight to the bridge, and he kind of smiles as he passes out.
And as a last action, before we finish combat, the horse archers are going to take one more parting shot at you, Ostrid. One arrow finds its mark from the large group. Some of them, as you're moving away, it's just harder. But apparently, one archer appears to have judged the distance correctly from, a target that is moving away from them. And you take another 5 points of piercing damage as another arrow sinks itself kind of into your thigh as you're moving. From the loss of blood and the tiring, like the fatigue, time seems to move kind of in and out. Your consciousness begins to fade in and fade out. You see road, just the road of the people who had come before. Forests, huge, massive forest to your right as you kind of slip in and out. The horse seemingly and thankfully moving onto its own. How much HP do you have left, Ostrid?
Well, thanks to her what is it called? Second wind. She has 12 left. So
okay.
Yeah.
As you're riding, again, just fatigue and being injured, so you still have the shafts of these arrows sticking out of you. You slowly see what looks to be the outskirts of a small group of homes maybe even what looks to be an inn, perhaps. As you get closer and closer, eventually, you you slow your horse slows down on its own. You see a group, a large group outside, even a couple of elves, a couple of humans. The elf, kind of a regal-looking individual, sword in a scabbard, kind of looks and kind of cocks his head as he begins to walk towards you, Ostrid. Seeing the arrows out, looks at you and says, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
So all I can picture, that was such a beautiful description. All I can think of is like in Lord of the Rings when Aragorn is riding on his horse, and he's like, before he gets to Helm's Deep, and he's just like totally, that's what it is. So it's just like conscious, unconscious, conscious, unconscious. So she's kind of like leaning over onto this horse, and she weakly puts her hand out towards him, and there's just blood like running down her leg across the flanks of her horse, and she goes, I must get to the king. It is a dire emergency. And he would see her like kind of like phase out a bit. And her head would kind of dip back down against the side of the neck of her horse.
And as you lose your last fight with consciousness before just succumbing to fatigue and pain from the arrows, you hear just shouts of getting a doctor, getting medical help. But you feel fairly confident that you're in a safe place. Before you go out completely, you hear the elf say, "Welcome to King's Gift."
When she hears the word king, a smile would kind of come across her face, a weak one, but a smile nonetheless.
And that's where we're going to end our one shot for today. I'd like to thank my 3 awesome players who unfortunately just all kinds of died, but it was definitely a hell of a trip to get everyone to get this important and very vital message towards the king, and perhaps now that this information will be more readily available to the players come the next session, the 4th session of the Foundation, when it begins, and we'll probably get that out to the public to watch as soon as we can. But I've done enough talking today, so I will leave it to my players to do their awesome outros, and we'll wrap it up after that.
Can I ask a meta question first?
Go for it.
Did Gaspar make it?
You'll find out.
I was going to say, don't answer that, Mike. Do not answer that question.
You'll find out.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
We will speculate. We will speculate, Austin.
All right.
I'm thinking you did.
At least one of us had to make it, so I'm not worried about the message getting there. I'm wondering if we accidentally got that guy killed, because I feel bad about it.
You'll find out. Like I said, all shall be revealed. But yeah, like I said, I'll leave it to you guys to outro away. We'll start with you, Austin, and Lionel, and then Nico, if he's still with us. I'm not sure if he's still with us.
Well, I just wanted to say thanks for another great game. I'm glad we were able to pull something together after all, even when we ended up down a player. Or 2 players. We have a big group. Yeah, so thanks a lot for fun one shot in the same world. I'm excited to see the repercussions of this play out in our game.
I am going to jump right on that bandwagon too, Mike. This was a great one shot, and the fact that you pulled it together so quickly, and it was so awesome. And I just love. I think I put in the chat. I love chase sessions, and that it was a chase, literally almost from the beginning to the end. And what a way to start it off! But for Nico to like literally get us that valuable time at the beginning. By laying down his own life. That was just awesome. It was just great all the way through. Loved it.
Thanks for the game, guys, and Mike. That was very fun. I like one shots as peripherals to like campaign play. It like informs the context on a meta level, which can make us like hone the RP like through that even better, making the world feel more real. So we're all like win, and it's free canonical or non-canonical stuff for you to use if you want, so no worries. But yeah, thanks. That was a great game, guys. Always good to die gloriously.
And you sure did. You know what? If it weren't for each one of your sacrifices, then yeah, I would say that it wouldn't have gone through. And who knows if Lord Gaspar the Shopper would have succeeded. But
Thanks not.
well, that'll definitely be for a future down the road in the campaign on what happens to Lord Gaspar. But I've spoken enough. From myself, Mike, and my amazing players, wish to thank you guys for tuning in, and we will look for you guys in the next episode or the next session of the Foundation. And until then, wish you guys all happy gaming, and as usual, get inspired.